welcome to After Hours at the Notting Hill Bookshop, the podcast where author and bookseller come together to discuss their shared love of books. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Stacey McNeill. Hi Stacey, thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So to start with, at our shop we sell blind dates of a book. So books that are wrapped up and you don't know what you're getting into till you go home and unwrap it. And my question for you is, if you were to set me up on a blind date with a book, which book would you choose?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. So for me, it would have to be something that gives you that cosy, kind of run away with the story kind of feel. So I would probably pick a romance novel.
Okay.
Probably by maybe Harriet Evans. So the first romance book that really, or the first book that really got me into romance was Harriet Evans is a hopeless romantic, and I just feel like it sort of encapsulates all of. I love all the modern versions of all the classics. So yeah, I think I would send you home with a hopeless romantic by Harriet Evans.
Lovely, excellent. So to start with, starting at the beginning, and the beginning of The Fox Under the Moon, which is your book and your business, your franchise. But I believe it came from quite a moment of transition in your life, and I'd love to hear more about how it began.
Sure. So, I mean, Fox Under the Moon, the brand, was never intended to be a business, first of all. So it's a book and it is a business as well, like you say. And essentially, my husband and I were primary school teachers up until 2018. And we got to that point in life, I think so many people do, where we just thought, we've got to get off this treadmill, you know. We were both sort of struggling with our mental health, stress, burnout, all of that kind of stuff. Our marriage was suffering. And we got to the point where we were like, we need to either change what we're doing or stick with this for the rest of our lives, and that was just not an option. So we took the decision back in 2018 to sell our house. We quit our jobs. We sold pretty much everything we owned, and we moved into a 23-foot touring caravan with very little idea of what we were going to do next, and sort of set off on this, what became a 5-year whirlwind journey of sort of travelling around. We worked on campsites, things like that. And then, of course, lockdown hit, and I was out of work because I'd been working on the campsites. My husband, Jamie, went to work at the vaccination programme for COVID. And I thought, well, it's my time to really try and put something out that's creative in the world. I've always loved to write. My dream has always been to be a writer. I'm sure every author that comes here tells you that, but it's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
And at the time I had a friend going through something really difficult, and I wanted to give him some sort of emotional support. So I had never painted, never drawn before, taught myself to draw in lockdown. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And this is where kind of Fox Under the Moon came from, because when I started, it was just a sky and a moon. That was really all I could do. And it kind of grew from there. So I drew this lovely moon and a watercolour sky at the time. I now illustrate digitally, but at the time it was all watercolour. And I put a little uplifting message underneath, and I'd send it off to him, and he shared it on social media. My mum shared it. My mum's friend shared it, and then within kind of a few weeks, really, I'd had thousands of kind of likes and stuff, which was, you know, I was not anything on social media before. And just people, complete strangers, coming and saying, could you do a picture about hope? Could you do a picture about grief? And then I thought, oh, maybe there's something in this. And so I took £250 that my grandma had given me, and I got my first sets of greeting cards printed, and I put them on Etsy, and they sort of sold out. You get this beautiful noise that goes ka-ching when you sell something on Etsy. Like, if anyone's an Etsy seller, it's the best noise. And I was just hearing this noise. I was packing the greeting cards into with the envelopes around my mum's kitchen table, and we sold out before we'd even packed them all. And that was the kind of the moment when I thought, right, I can make something of this, you know. So that's where it started.
Brilliant. I can't believe you've never drawn before, because the illustrations are so beautiful.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. I mean, I've always been creative. I did graphic design at school and product design. But I wouldn't ever consider myself to be an artist, you know.
It just shows. So it started off with these sort of prints and cards. How did you go from taking these prints and structuring it into a gift book?
Sure. So this, again, because by this point, when I did the first book, we were about, I don't know, maybe 6 months into me having started a Facebook page. You know, I started on Facebook and then did Instagram. And I had lots of my followers. By this point, I had sort of maybe 15,000 followers. And and everyone was saying, oh, you should really do a book. And I'm thinking, well, how does someone like me do a book? How do you do a book? That's not a thing. And so I sort of looked into how you get, a book self-published and all this. Hadn't even dreamed at this point that I might get a publishing deal one day. And so I just essentially took all of my greeting card designs, put them together. I went to hundreds of bookshops and sort of groped books and thought about who doesn't love doing that anyway? Yeah. But, to see how they felt and what paper type I wanted and all this. And then I contacted local printers and printed them, that kind of thing. So I really did do it really self-published, I didn't go through the Amazon route or anything. And that's sort of how it came about. And then obviously 3-ish years after that, I was contacted by Quercus and they offered me a proper book deal, which is exciting.
Oh, brilliant. There's certainly been I'd say kind of an uptake in these sort of highly illustrated gift books. Why do you think it is that we're sort of leaning towards these beautiful gifts, but ones that are so emotive at the moment?
I think there's a few reasons, to be honest. I think partly, we're really seeing a trend towards people wanting physical things again. And I mean, books, I think if you're a book person, having a feel of a book in your hand, there's nothing like it. And I've always thought books generally are great gifts, because they're a window into different worlds, and what a wonderful thing to give somebody. So I think there's an element of that wanting something physical. But I also think the world's been a tough place for the last 7-8 years, before. I mean, we've had COVID, we had, issues, we had the Brexit thing, we had the cost of living crisis, there's been numerous wars and things. And I think certainly for books like Fox Under the Moon and those like it, people want that little bit of encouragement and hope and that feeling that it's one of my little books is called A Hug in a Book, that idea of people want to be wrapped up in something that feels safe and comforting. And I think there's a big part of that. And I think it's really hard if someone's going through something difficult, which is sort of what my books and brand is aimed at. It's hard to know what to buy someone as a gift. And so I think if you can give something that says what you perhaps can't find the words for, I think that's a real gem.
Yeah, no, I agree. In your writing, the words and the pictures are so intertwined together. But which comes first when you're doing? Do you start with that image, or do you start with the phrase and then think, how am I going to illustrate this?
Yeah, sure. So it's a really interesting question, that one, and not an easy one for me to answer. I will start by saying, as I've sort of prefaced before, I don't consider myself an artist, and so I never sit down and think, how will I illustrate this? I usually sit down and think, how on earth am I going to illustrate this? But I think what's great about having the social media audience that I've got and the amount of followers is people tell me, I'm privileged every day to have people messaging me and tell me what they're going through, and sharing their stories with me. And that gives me the inspiration for the words. So I will quite often, rather than coming up with the full sentence or the full Fox and Moon conversation, I'll have an idea of the theme. So I might think, okay, I'm going to do something around grief, or I'm going to do something around hope or love or encouragement or whatever. And then I'll have pictures. I tend to draw when I'm in the mood to draw. I'll draw and I'll have lots of pictures, and then I'll sort of select one. I think actually that would be a lovely one to do for hope, or that kind of thing. So it sort of works together. But I very rarely will sit down and think, these are the words, I'm going to draw a picture, or vice versa.
It's more of a kind of growing.
It evolves, I think. Yeah. And it's great because it's really interesting if you look back at some of the early stuff that I did when I'd first started my Facebook page, and I was really just doing it for a hobby. I'd never had a hope of doing it as a business or a career. It's really difficult for me to look at those because they look so rubbish, in my opinion, and it's, people always say, well, you shouldn't say that, and it's so interesting to me that still some of those early designs are the ones that people love the most, and there's like a naivety in it, and it's really lovely that I do think having the words with it is what really elevates it, and it kind of makes the picture mean something for somebody. So
so it's quite almost like intimate relationship with your followers and your fans. What does that feel like, knowing that you've had such a kind of profound effect upon basically strangers?
Do you know, it's a funny thing, because for a lot of time when I first started doing what I'm doing and selling it, so when I essentially made a business out of doing it, I had a really hard time reconciling the fact that I felt like I was exploiting people who were going through difficult times. And I know that it might sound a weird thing to say, because I felt like, well, I'm profiteering, I'm making my living out of selling things to people who are going through difficult times. And then I met a lovely nurse. We supply one of our local hospices up in Newcastle upon Tyne with some books around grief. And she said, well, I'm the same. I'm a nurse and I look after people who are sick and dying. but I don't feel bad about taking my salary. And that was the moment when I thought, actually, no, I'm helping people. I'm allowing people to get through something difficult. And I'm also, because our little strapline for the business is finding beautiful ways to say the things that matter. And I think for somebody supporting someone through a difficult time, especially grief, it's so hard to know what to say. And I think that's where our greeting cards and stuff have really been really helpful for people. And so I think, it's an intimate relationship, but it's quite heavy sometimes. And I think I have to make sure that I guard my own mental health in it, because I'm reading, we read stories about, suicide or mental illness, and, people going through cancer battles or, losing friends or going through divorce, relationships. It's heavy stuff, and while I am privileged to be a part of that and it's an honour, I also have to remember that I'm separate to that, because otherwise it would be a lot to take on, as someone who's like highly empathetic as well. It's hard. So
you need to have that empathy and that sensitivity in order to be able to provide the service. Yes. It must be quite kind of vulnerable putting it all out there as well with these beautiful words, and I don't know if your own experiences in life come into play as well. I think anyone who writes anything meaningful and says there isn't a part of yourself in it would be a liar, if I'm honest. Someone said to me once, and it took me aback. They said, wow, you must have had a terrible life to have been able to write about all this stuff. And I kind of think it's one of those things. I've had a wonderful life. I'm a very privileged person. Everyone's been through things, and I think it's really interesting. And like grief, for example, is something I write about all the time. And I think grief as a topic is so fascinating, because it isn't just somebody dying. Of course, that's what you think of, but it's also, if you have a relationship breakdown, that's a type of grief. If you lose touch with a friend that was really meaningful, it's a type of grief. For some people, losing a job that they loved can be a type of grief. So I think, yes, of course, there's experience of my own in there and those around me and everything. But I also think the most important thing with being able to empathise with somebody is being able to see things from their point of view. And that's really what I try and do. So, and listening is so important when you're kind of trying to put yourself in someone else's situation. Something that really struck me about this book is it's all about embracing those really challenging emotions. And it reminded me of something about the kind of root word of courage, coming from like the Latin root of like from the heart.
Lovely.
So that strength of feeling. I feel like that message comes through so clearly in the book, but how does that resonate with you? And
that's really beautiful. That's so lovely. What's so interesting in that, and it's so lovely and perceptive that you've picked it up, is because people always say to Jamie, my husband, and I, when we quit our lives essentially back in 2018 and started off on this sort of new life, people said to us, gosh, that was so brave, you had so much courage. At the time, it felt like desperation. It didn't feel like courage. Okay. It felt like there's no other way for us. We have to change our lives. We have to do something. But when you look back, you can actually see every decision you make in life, every big or small decision starts with courage. Because staying still and doing the same as you've always done, well, that's the easy thing to do, and there's so many people, I think, have, and it's not, I don't blame them at all, I don't look down on them, but have these dreams and have these sort of wants to change and real needs to do something different, but it's easier not to. And so I think courage really, it starts in your head, it starts inside, and it starts in your heart, which is probably exactly where that comes from. And I think it's about one step in front of the other, and making huge decisions one little step at a time. So.
I agree. And it's nice to have that kind of, I guess, emotive reminder and backing to help kind of spur you into action. Kind of, it will be okay.
I think that's, again, where a lot of the... Sorry.
No, you're fine. No,
that's my worst habit when I get ideas, I just keep going.
We like the energy.
And that's one of the things that I really like about how the books come together that I did with Quercus, because I always say to people, it's not a book that you read from start to finish. It's one that you keep on your coffee table or your bedside table. You flick through and you open it, whatever page you open it at, that's the page that's meant for you today. And I think it's fascinated me and really touched me with the things that I do on social media, and because I share the artwork every day, how people really hang on to and resonate with just a small amount of words. Sometimes it's only 7 or 8 words, but that can really hugely make a difference. Some of the people that I've met at book signings or have talked to me online or whatever, have said that I do a little daily thoughts sort of product where you sort of turn the page every day and there's a thought for every day. And I had a beautiful lady that I spoke to in my talk in one of the talks in Scotland, in Glasgow, and she said that thought every day, that little thing, that ritual of doing that and reading something, I reached for that every day rather than like pills to take an overdose. And I was just like, wow. Oh my God, like that is crazy to me, because it's essentially it's words on a page, you know, but to think that those little thoughts is way beyond 6 words on a page. It's something that really means something, and those little things can really get people through, you know. So, I think it's why everyone has like a Pinterest board full of inspirational quotes, right? When you're feeling a bit bad, you're like, I'll just have a little flick through.
I feel better. Or like kind of affirmation cards, which you also have, even like to a certain extent, sort of tarot and oracle cards. Absolutely. That's often the same.
It's just whatever it is for you, and this is the thing. It can be different things for different people. Whatever it is that gives you that, I can do another day. Yeah. Right, if I can be a part of that, I've done my job, you know. Yeah.
And would you say that's what you want people to take away from your book when they open that random page and they go out with the rest of the day? It's just a comfort and I can do it. Yeah,
it's kind of like a virtual hug. Like you can do this. You're not on your own for a start off, you know, and that actually, whatever it is that you're going through in life, and you know, from the because the thing is with struggles and troubles and you know, not even as far as mental illness, but just everyone goes through things. I think some people feel that their problems aren't important or their problems aren't very big, but to you, the tiniest problem to somebody else is a huge deal. And I think that's the thing. You don't have to be, you know, terminally ill or have lost someone close to you or whatever to be experiencing something really difficult in life, you know. And I think that's the other thing is, wherever you are and however you feel, it's important and it's valid, and actually that is the centre of your world. And I think that's the whole point of this, is just to allow people to know, just be kind to yourself, whatever you're going through, and things will get better, you know. Yeah
That's a beautiful sentiment, and it's lovely that art can carry that through to so many. I believe you also have a Fox Under the Moon 2 in the works. Yes. Is there anything you can say about that?
Yeah, sure. So it is in the works for certain. So I very recently submitted all of the final artwork to the publisher and had all that signed off. I've just seen the front cover, which I haven't shared yet. So very, very soon on my social media, depending on when this goes out, it may already be out there. We haven't got a release date just yet, but we know it's going to be the autumn. Okay. So it'll be similar time as Fox 1 came out this year. And it's a little bit different, this one. I think people who love the first one will hopefully love the second one. It's not different enough not to be sort of, you know, adjacent. But there's more of a thread where this one is kind of pick it up and everything's, you know, not organised so much. This is more, so it follows the phases of the moon. Right. So the first book, Seasons of Comfort and Hope, follows the seasons. The second one follows the phases of the moon and how we link those, you know, like the full moon to sort of abundance and happiness and feeling full and alive. And then that sort of waning down to, you know, we go through periods where the new moon and the sky is very dark and feeling like lacking of hope. So it's got a more of a thread going through it than the first book has. So I think it's sufficiently different to be new and exciting, but I think people who love the first one will still resonate, hopefully, and see the roots in it. Yeah.
Did you do anything kind of different this time round, but apart from structuring it differently, but are there kind of lessons you learned from the first one? 100%.
100%. So, I mean, Fox of the Moon, Seasons of Comfort and Hope was my first traditionally published book working with a publisher. And I am notoriously quite bad, it turns out, at collaborating and doing things with other people. I'm a bit of a control freak. So having self-published, I think 6-7 titles before that, where I got to say exactly what went on each page, how big the font was, all the rest of the time scale, type of paper, everything. It's been really fascinating for me, and it's been a great lesson in patience and in not thinking I'm always right, because turns out, spoiler alert, that's not the case. And it's been really nice. What has been wonderful though about working with the publisher is having someone to bounce ideas off. You're not in it on your own. I mean, my poor husband has to hear about these things all the time, but actually having someone who knows what they're talking about, sorry Jamie, to bounce ideas off. So yeah, I mean, I learned a heck of a lot in the first book, because, you know, working to a deadline, first of all, I had both books, I've had about 6 or 8 weeks to do all of the illustrations and all the words. So I found ways this time to kind of speed up that process and just be more efficient, and the way I set my artwork files out and all of that kind of stuff. I've learned so much more. So I think I've become more efficient, definitely.
Excellent. And as well as Fox Under the Moon, I believe you are also looking to branch out into more sort of traditional fiction writing, novel writing. Are you happy to share some exciting news about that?
Yeah. Or? So it's like a completely different thing for me. And my dream since I was a little girl was to write novels. It's just my thing. Again, probably everyone says that to you when they come and talk as well. So I wrote last year. I've been writing romance type books for 20 odd years, 2 decades, but never seriously. I've never finished anything. But I was compelled last year to actually finish a novel that I'd started, which I did. And it's called The Art of Keeping Secrets. So it's kind of a sort of, I don't want to be kind of elitist when I say this, but it's kind of a thinking person's romance, I guess. So it's not really tropey and not, it's got the tropes, of course, but it's more of a kind of, there's a lot of emotion in there. And it's really funny because obviously it's a total departure from Fox Under the Moon because it's a little bit spicy and all of that. But the feeling is there. And I feel like the thread of emotion, there's grief in the book, there's love, obviously, there's heartbreak, there's difficult decisions, there's messy women who make bad decisions. And I feel like I really wanted to represent not just a love story, but a life story, and the idea of actually people make bad decisions and that's okay, and people make the wrong choices, and people do things and they choose love that doesn't suit them, or sometimes love arrives at the wrong time or with the wrong person and it can be judged and all the rest of it. And I really wanted to encapsulate some of the feelings and emotions that I talk about in Fox Under the Moon, but into a story, like a full story. And I didn't even make that kind of link myself when I started doing this. And I wasn't, when I first started doing it, I was going to use a pen name because I thought, well, there's no way I can write a spicy book and then also have Fox Under the Moon, because that's just not going to happen. But then I thought, actually, the audience is probably quite similar, because people who've been through stuff in life appreciate emotion. Everyone's loved, everyone's lost. And so I thought, no, actually, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to keep my real name and, and try and bring. So at the minute, I'm in that process of building an audience for that as well, as well as Fox and the Moon. There's a bit of crossover, hopefully, with people there. And we're out on submission at the minute with publishers. I've got an agent for this book, and we're out on submission as we speak. So I haven't got any super exciting news, but I hope soon I will.
Watch your space. You got me thinking of like a spicy Fox Under the Moon.
I know. Do you know what? On paper, it is just not a thing.
The kind of continuation of sort of emotional complexity and development.
That
makes complete sense.
I think that's the thing. It's the feeling of it, because ultimately, what is life if it's not about love and emotion and feeling? And people's lives aren't always perfect fantasies. It's not, and I think there's no one could go through life without regrets or without thinking, maybe I should have done this or blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to bring that, all of the stuff that I talk about in Fox Under the Moon, bring it together and follow, it's hopefully going to be a series. It will follow the lives of 5 women, essentially, each making terrible decisions in life, but the reasons why and what's led them there and all of that. So hopefully it will be it might be a disaster, but let's hope not.
I don't think so. Brilliant. Well, on the note of stories, I have got a little tote bag here that I would love to give to you. And would you like to please have a browse of our shelves and pick out a couple of your favourite books?
That sounds really exciting. I would love to do that. How long have you got?
We have all night.
So my first book choice is a classic. I had to go for a classic, and I know it's cliched, but it's one of my favourites. I know it will be one of lots of people's favourites. I picked Pride and Prejudice. I could have picked any Jane Austen book, to be honest. And the reason I've chosen this as a book that's really special to me is I studied it at school, and I feel like Jane Austen has this wonderful way of spanning generations and spanning across time with the themes that she writes about. It's not just love, it's not just romance, there's grief in there. I mean, we talked before about all of the aspects for me and Fox Under the Moon, and for me, Jane Austen novels have all of that. So Pride and Prejudice will forever be one of my favourite books. I love the books, I love the films, and it's something I can keep returning to over and over again. If I could only take one romance book to a desert island, it would be Pride and Prejudice. So that is my first choice. And then I'm afraid I went browsing in the kids section after that. I love children's books. And the second one that I picked, Famous Five. Enid Blyton was my favourite author as a child, still is one of my favourite authors as an adult as well, to the point where my English teacher at school told me that if ever I was going to be a writer, I had to read something other than Enid Blyton, because that was it for me. I love adventure. I love how characters interact, and I'm really, really fascinated and delighted that recently they've kind of modernised and given some adaptations that are kind of bringing in the 21st century and all of that. And I think, again, it's something that if I had children, I would want them to read this kind of story, because I think it teaches you so much about life. I mean, I grew up with my sister and two male cousins, and we invented a dog because we didn't have one at the time, so we had an imaginary dog, and we were the Famous Five. We went on these holidays, we imagined Kirin Island and Smugglers Coves and things, and I really honestly think that Enid Blyton and the Famous Five series were what taught me to have an imagination, so couldn't have not chosen an Enid Blyton book. That's my second one. And for my final pick, I've gone for Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes. Now, I absolutely adore words. I think that you can open a world with words, and the way you can say something in one way and mean something else, it just fascinates me. And I think, along with Oscar Wilde, Roald Dahl and how he structures this 100%, this was what taught me to rhyme, gave me my love of poetry. A lot of Fox Under the Moon is written in rhyme, and just how to say something in so few words. I love that about poetry. So I think being able to tell a story through rhyme is a real skill. I write songs as well, and I think that's the same kind of thing, is to give someone a limited amount of words and get them to tell an amazing story, and they're just hilarious. And I still think, I was just flicking through when I was choosing there, I think I could still recite a lot of these off by heart. So that is my final pick, and if anyone has kids and hasn't had this book and hasn't read this to their children, please do, because it would just be a travesty not to, I think. So those are my picks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Stacey, and thank you for recommending these absolute bangers of classics. Brilliant choice. Please come again soon. Come say hi to our bookshop.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been absolutely wonderful. I've had a great time. Thank you.
Our pleasure.